Hello and welcome. I am Exit Light, and this is my podcast. Today, I have my friend Rob. Hello, Rob.
Hi, Tracy. Okay?
Good, how are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you.
What are we doing today, Rob?
Haunted prisons and asylums.
Yes, we are not doing Monsters versus Monsters.
No, we're not doing that one ever again.
Never again. Nope. Yeah, I don't want to. Hope you don't mind.
No, not so.
For
It's
those of
your
you
idea.
listening, yeah, I know. It was my idea. I admit it. It was. And you insulted me, but it's okay. I can take it. I have thick skin. For those of you who are not subscribed, if you would like to be, just try it. Go ahead. I dare you. And would you please give this video a thumbs up and share with your friends on your social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you know the drill. And if you would like to be notified when my content goes live, please go ahead and click that bell and then make your decision about how often you'd like to be notified. And thank you for coming for the 31 days of Halloween. How have you liked it so far, Rob?
I think it's been really, really good. I really enjoyed it.
I've been having a very good time.
Yeah.
I like it very much. We should do it again next year.
That's what we said last year.
And we were right. We did. We should start in January this year, though.
Yeah, it would be easier.
Oh, hold
dear.
on. I know. Hold on. Why? Sorry about that, guys. I'm just a popular person. Anyway, so do you want to go first, do you think?
Yeah, will do.
All right. Where are we going, Rob? I just started. Sorry about that. Where are we going, Rob?
We're going to Wales.
Let's go to Wales.
Did you tell everyone to hit that like button? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Oh, really? Was I boring you already? I did. I told everyone.
Okay. Well, don't forget to hit that like button. Okay. We're going to Wales, and it's called Ruffin Gaol.
It's called what?
Ruffin Gaol. Gaol. I think it's the Welsh spelling of, because obviously the Welsh have got their own language, and if I'm saying it wrong, I apologise. But
okay,
I'm sure it's said as Gaul.
Ruffin?
Yeah, excuse me. Right, here we go. Are you ready?
Yep.
Construction of a prison started on the site in the 17th century in North Wales. In 1775, initially the building was just a few cells, but grew over the years to a 4-storey prison. The prison closed in 1916. That was quite not so long ago, really. When you look at our history, it goes back such a long, long way.
Yes, it does.
And the inmates were moved to Shrewsbury. It was used as a munitions factory during the war. Before being handed back to the council, it's now open to the public as a museum. With a history of despair, desperation, and even executions, it is no surprise that the building has its fair share of ghost stories. Reports including disembodied voices and the sensation of being followed. Touched or pushed, the heavy cell doors are said to slam on their own. One of the spirits that haunt the jail is believed to be William Hughes, the only inmate to be hanged in the prison. He was executed in 1903 for the murder of his wife. There is also said to be a spirit of a former prison guard and a happy young girl. Happy young girl? That's a bit weird. A happy young girl in a prison. Tracy, you still there?
Sorry, I cut out. Yeah, I was happy a girl.
I thought I was doing the podcast on my own then for a minute.
I died. I don't think there are very many happy young girls in prisons.
Did you hear any of that?
Yes. Oh no, I heard you. I just couldn't talk back.
Okay.
Yeah, I was here.
You sacked it and just the one.
Okay, sorry. Continue on.
There was only one person hanged, and William Hughes is he was executed in 1903 for murdering his wife, for leaving. He murdered her because she left him high and dry.
Isn't the case you murder them because they won't leave?
Oh. Well, that's my first one.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna get in a little deeper for my first one.
Okay.
We're gonna go to someplace I've been before, and it's Alcatraz.
Oh.
So, The Rock was the name given to Alcatraz. And it was the ultimate American prison. It was a place where scores of the country's worst criminal offenders, bloodletters, bad men, and escape artists called the end of the line. Although it started as a military prison, for 29 years the prison kept the country's most notorious lawbreakers, including Al Capone, Doc Barker, George Machine Gun Kelly, and others, confined behind their stone walls. The initial prison was built in 1859 but fell into disuse by the 1920s. It was then reopened in 1933 to be an escape-proof federal prison. It was a brutal place of punishment and confinement with very few privileges. Suicide, murder, and even insanity became common. In 1946, several inmates attempted a violent and bloody escape from the Rock, but failed. And by the way, I'm going to get more into this after this first paragraph that's going to introduce you to Alcatraz. There were a handful of other attempts, but only one successful escape in 1962, when 3 bank robbers using handmade rubber rafts and dummies with real human hair vanished into the dark waters of the bay. Alcatraz was closed down 1 year later in 1963. It is regarded as one of America's most haunted places. Ghosts have been widely reported ever since, even by staff members of the National Park Service, which now operates the property. And as we know, the National Park Service is code for serial killers. I'm kidding. If you work in the National Park Service, I'm not saying you're a serial killer. It's allegedly full of serial killers. I don't know. National parks. Not gonna go to one. Ghosts have been sighted along with strange sounds, screams, yells, weeping, and eerie music. I'm going to get into this a little more with the legends of Alcatraz, if you don't mind.
No.
Okay. So, one of the things it did when it was first built was that it would keep the Hopi Indians inmates on the island. They were the original military prisoners, which I think probably adds a spin on this that people hadn't really thought about before, considering the spirituality of the Native Americans And the Hopi Indians are particularly known as being a spiritual group. So I think that it's interesting to note that they were the first ones ever kept out there for, whatever reason they decided to. During the Civil War, it provided an important line of defense. New facilities continued to be added in 1870s, 1880s, and 1893. Then the first hospital on Alcatraz was opened. They built a new upper prison in 1904. A $250,000 concrete military prison was erected between 1910 and 1912 on the site of and incorporating parts of the old citadel. In 1933 to 1934, the building was modernized and became the Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary. It held some of America's most dangerous criminals. During the time as a penitentiary, 8 people were murdered at the prison by inmates. A guard was murdered in the laundry room in the 1930s. 2 people died during an escape attempt. And 5 inmates were killed in random attacks. 5 prisoners committed suicide, and dozens over the years died trying to escape. A lot of people claimed that that Alcatraz was haunted, including the prisoners, who had strange things happen to them. A former inmate whose name is Leon Whitey Thompson, who also worked as a guide at Alcatraz for many years, which is interesting. And he would go visit it regularly, which is strange, until he died in 2005. He believed that Alcatraz is haunted and has stated that he could feel it while he was incarcerated there. He later believed that the prison was damned and often had a sense of being watched by spirits. During his time in the prison, Thomas was friendly with an inmate whose name was Johnny House. He was a big Texan. He last saw him on the 25th of October in 1962 when he left Alcatraz, and he never saw House again. Then one day in the 80s, when Thompson was alone in the cell house waiting for visitors to arrive for a tour, because Alcatraz is an island, you have to take a ferry from San Francisco to Alcatraz. So that's why he was waiting for them on the tour. He claimed to have seen a large, dark figure at the end of what they called Michigan Avenue corridor. He saw the apparition walk around the corner and out of his sight. Thompson rushed to the end of the corridor, but nobody was there. He believed that what he had seen was the ghost of Hawes, by the way he walked and the feeling that the figure gave off. Afterwards, Thompson said, "I don't care what anybody says, that was Johnny Haas." Mm-hmm. A lot of people who visit Alcatraz feel like they can feel the feeling of, well, I call it darkness. They feel creepy or uncomfortable. I definitely felt darkness. It's extremely cold. Since it closed, there's been reports of unexplained clanging sounds, screams, crying, which would have been men, by the way, crying. Unexplained footsteps and moaning have been reported in both A and B blocks. C block is reputedly haunted by the spirit of a former inmate whose name was Abby Maldowitz. His nickname was the Butcher. He was murdered in the laundry room on September 5th, 1984. Once a ranger spent the night on the island and was awakened by a heavy door swinging in C block, but he found no cause for it. The door swinging continued on many other nights. D block is considered by paranormal investigators to have the most activity. 4 of the 42 cells in this block are thought to be haunted. An unexplained voice has been reported in cells 11, 12, 13. Cell 14D, the worst cell for punishment in what they call the whole of Alcatraz, is
Yeah.
considered to be the most haunted cell of all time, and I have stood in that cell. Many people report that cell 14D is permanently icy cold even during the summer and is often 20 to 30 degrees colder than anywhere else, and it is cold. And I've told this story on here before, but it's been a long time, I think. We took a family vacation, and my parents were foster parents, so we took our foster children with us. And we were with a pretty decent sized group, probably, maybe 15 people. And they asked for volunteers to go be locked into cell 14D, which you can't see out of. It's got one of those little peek hole things. And my foster sister was chosen to be the one locked in there. She was 14 years old. Probably not the best choice, but I suppose they think it's funny to have children maybe be scared, you know? Anyway, so she went in there, and she was, when they opened the door, she was white as a sheet. She said that she felt someone grab her in there. And she was clearly all alone. We were all standing outside watching her as the door closed. There was nobody in there. She said she very clearly felt someone grab her. And it scared her badly. In fact, my father, she asked if she could leave, and there was caretakers of the building who still live on the island. I don't know if they still do or not, but at the time they did. And my father asked the guide if there was someplace he could take her outside because she didn't want to be in there anymore. And he asked the caregiver, the wife of the caregiver, if she could, stay out there with her. For the record, the National Park Service does not do ghost tours of Alcatraz because they claim it's not haunted, there's nothing wrong, and as we know, if anybody tells the truth, it's the National Park Service. So you can have private tours, private companies. They do allow private companies to do the tours. Anyway, then we continued on. The showers is another place that is very creepy. They're set up, there's no stalls. It's set up like if you've ever been to a dairy and seen cows, a lot of cows eating, the showers are set up like that. They're just all open, and they have beams that go from the floor to the ceiling. The pipes hang over it, and then there's just shower spouts. So they just spray down a decent height so that the prisoners can't reach it because they don't want them reaching it. So it's high. Al Capone is said to have practiced his banjo in the shower room, and guards and visitors say that they have heard banjo music in the showers, which would be very echoey, I would assume. And it's strange that they would it's really strange. I mean, being the Al Capone wasn't the worst thing, right? I mean, he got special treatment everywhere he went. Even in prison, like, you can go ahead, practice your banjo. Anyway, Machine Gun Kelly is reportedly seen at Alcatraz. There was a prisoner whose name was Alvin Creepy Karpis. He is said to haunt the bakery and the kitchen. And sometimes people say in the Birdman of Alcatraz's cell that they can hear the chirping of parakeets. So I can say that it feels dark. It feels dark. There's just nothing. I don't know what else to say. I think the dampness, because it's right on the water. Obviously, it's an island, but it's not like a Hawaiian island. It's rocks, which is why they call it the Rock. It's overwhelming. It's, even if you didn't know what it was, you would think it was creepy. It's exactly like, that movie Shudder? It has, if you've ever watched the movie Shudder, and I know you're surprised, I have.
Shutter Island.
Yeah, Shutter Island.
Mm.
That's it. It has that feeling you get when you see the building and it feels cold and damp, and that's Alcatraz. It
Mm.
it just feels, I don't know. I can't. The thing is that when you're walking through it, you can hear clanging and bars. You know, you can hear the noise of the bars shaking, and I suppose that's probably maybe the building settling, or I don't know, but it all lends to, oh, and maybe it isn't. Maybe it's ghosts. Like that, I don't know. I If I had to be the caretaker of Alcatraz, no, I don't think you could pay me enough money to do that job.
Mm.
Mm, I don't even know. That is, and they have people who sneak out there on the island, so they do have to catch people out there. I would stay in my house and be like, you just do whatever you need to do and leave when you feel like it. It would be the worst caretaker. I don't know. So there you go. Alcatraz.
I'd love to go.
You would love to go. I
Mm.
think you would love it. That's
I'd
right
like
up
to
your
stay
alley.
overnight.
Would you? See now, I wouldn't mind doing that. Yeah, you could light a freaking campfire in it. It's all concrete and metal.
Mm.
We could just sit there roasting marshmallows, telling ghost stories, listening to the creaks and cracks and slamming of the doors,
I
voices,
mean,
banjo music. First off, if you hear banjo music, as a general rule, you should go. Just don't. Just go. I've seen Deliverance.
so have
It doesn't go well.
I. How does it go? The music. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah. Yeah. Just don't. Anyway, I wouldn't mind spending the night there. I wonder if what they should do is they should turn that into an attraction on Halloween. These people really need to like capitalize on this stuff. Why they
Ghost
haven't
Adventures
called
have been
me?
there.
Uh, uh, can you call them, please? We need to be sponsored by Ghost Adventures. What'd they find there?
Well, they had a couple of. They went on the tour in the day, and
Uh-huh.
because they wanted to find out the history. And
Yeah.
I remember the cell. Was it cell 14B?
D.
D, sorry. And the cells 11, 12, 13.
Mm-hmm.
They had their EMF meters, the ones that do the temperature. I can't remember what they're called now. The Mel
Yeah.
meter or something.
Yeah.
And the temperatures did drop between. We go in one cell and it stays pretty the same, and then they go in these other cells and the temperature did drop quite dramatically.
Really?
And there's no reason for it to do
Mm-mm.
that.
Mm-mm.
And yeah, then at night they did the investigation. I think they got some good EVPs and stuff like that.
I think the history is fascinating.
Yeah. Have you seen the film with Clint Eastwood? About Alcatraz, about the ones that escaped? Because there's a lot of
I feel like
controversy,
I
isn't there?
have a long time ago.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of controversy about this, isn't there? Because the prison authorities say that they didn't survive,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of people think that they did.
Of course they did. I think they did.
Yeah, I do as well.
Well, they never found anything, and their excuse for that was, "I'm sorry, by the way, I have a throat lozenge in my mouth. Please ignore that if you can." Um, I think it was in the best interest for the prison to say that they died, and that the reason they said they died was probably sharks, because what's going to scare people from trying to escape and more? Cold water and sharks. That's a good start.
Yeah.
So I think that it was in their best interest to discourage people from trying to escape by saying that they died. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have believed them. Maybe they did die, but they don't know for sure, so they just said they died to discourage anybody else from doing it. But I don't think they did. I think it's not that far. It's really not that far
No.
that they would have had to go. So I think that could have been done. I kind of hope so.
Yeah, it would be.
I hope someone's great grandpa, was out there, and it turns out that he was one of them. And someday they find his information, and that'd be kind of cool. I wish it was my great grandpa.
Yeah. Yeah, I would really, really like to go there. It's one of my bucket list places to go.
I realized talking to you that I've been to a lot of places that you want to go.
Yeah.
I hadn't
And,
realized I'd been to so many places like this.
and vice versa.
I know. I know.
So, obviously, we were both born in the wrong place.
I know. I have to come. I have to come visit.
Well, might be in the pipeline.
Yep, might be. All right, Rob.
Right, what I'm going to do, because yours was quite long and quite
I'm
in
sorry.
depth. No, that's fine. That's good. That's good. But the research I've done isn't very big. Each write up isn't that big. So can I do two?
Of course.
Right. My first one is Inverary Jail in Inverary in Scotland.
Okay, I want to write that down. Inverary.
Yeah, hang on. I'll spell it for you. INV
Me?
ER
Oh. Okay.
ERARAY.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. This one, oh no, it's quite old, so anyway. A 19th century prison and courthouse with a reputation of one of the most haunted places in Scotland. The paranormal activity in the prison, which closed to inmates in 1889, includes a general feeling of unease, unexplained noises, and even apparitions captured in the form of photographs.
Mm.
The most active parts of the prison are said to be Cell 10 and the prison kitchens.
Really?
Now, Scotland. I love Scotland. I think you would love Scotland as well.
I think you're right.
All the buildings are made of, or all of the older buildings are made of these big, huge blocks of stone, and it's just, I don't know. Have you ever been to a place, Trace, and you just feel at home?
Yeah.
That's Scotland for me. I love
New Orleans for me.
Well, yeah, I remember you saying. And I just really, really love Scotland. I love the people, I love the place, I love everything about it. It just, when we moved to Cornwall, it was toss up really between Cornwall or Scotland.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know if have I not told you that.
No.
And it was the fact that we both spent a lot of time down in Cornwall, and that my ex had got some family down here, or had family down here, that we decided on Cornwall. But I do look. She didn't fancy Scotland.
Mm.
But yeah, I really love Scotland. You'd love it as well. Anyway, my next prison is called the Clink Prison in London.
Well, can I ask you some stuff about Inverary?
Yeah, of course you can.
I am looking at pictures, and there's a lot of pictures of children in there. Did the jailers live on the site?
No, it was. I forgot to mention this as well. I think it was a workhouse as well.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what? Do you know how it worked with a workhouse?
I think so, because we had poorhouses, and what if you owed like
Yeah,
taxes and whatnot?
yeah,
Okay. So their parents had to work.
yeah.
I
And
see.
obviously, it was just like in Charles Dickens' Oliver.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
if you couldn't afford, or if you were in debt or you couldn't afford to live,
Well,
they
debtor's
used to
prison,
put you,
yeah.
yeah, debtor's prison. They put you in prison because it used to be illegal to not have any money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be illegal, so they would put you in these places, and basically you got a bed and board and food, but you had to work
Mm.
really, really, and they weren't pleasant places to be.
Wow.
It sounds a lot better than what it is. I mean, some people were better off on the streets.
Right.
So yeah, this was one of them places as well.
So do they think that the ghosts, the hauntings, are inmates or families, members that live there? It's right on the water.
Yeah, everywhere in Scotland is. Everywhere Scotland is. Scotland reminds me very much of America because you've got these big cities and then nothing. Then another big city and nothing. Scotland is like that for me. A lot of Scotland is still unexplored, and it's loads and loads of locks. Excuse me, just a second. Excuse me, sorry about that. Locks, which basically means lakes.
Yes.
Obviously, you go right up. You've got Inverness, where the Loch Ness monster is. But yeah, a lot of places in Scotland are by either really coastal or there's not a lot inland other than sort of Glasgow and Edinburgh. Edinburgh's got a lot of history to do with the paranormal.
Really?
Yeah, Ghost Adventures have been there as well.
I just got done watching Mary Queen of Scots, if that matters at all. I love their history.
Ah.
So there you go. Look at me. Hoity-toity. She died in a horrific manner. Do you know that?
No.
Yeah. Let me tell you the story of how Mary Queen of Scots died. I'm telling you. She was beheaded, but she had a dog, a very little dog who was very loyal to her. And that Queen Elizabeth, actually, which is her cousin, had her beheaded because she was a rival to be Queen of England. She had as much of a claim more of a claim to the throne than Queen Elizabeth had. Here's your history class, guys. You turned in for ghosts. You're getting a history class, but hold on because it gets better. So she tolerates for a minute, but then she can't anymore. So she has Mary executed. So she goes in her big dress and everything to go be executed. Keep in mind her pet. Okay. Well, she kneels down, puts her head on the wood, and the executioner brings down the whatever it was that he really did bring down on her neck, and kind of missed. Kind of like didn't hit the right part of her neck, so he landed more on the back of her head, and she didn't die. So he had to hit her like 2 or 3 more times to sever her neck. And her mouth was moving the whole time because she was either singing or praying. The accounts are different. So her mouth kept moving. She kept saying what she was saying while this was happening. And then her head rolls off. There's a puddle of blood, and the little dog comes running out from inside of her petticoats. She had hit him in her dress. That's not creepy. So there you go. Fairy tales and such.
I think she's probably she was praying, not singing.
I don't know. You know, she was a Protestant. She wasn't really religious. They didn't like her because no, she was a Catholic. I'm sorry.
Catholic.
She was Catholic, and they didn't like her because they were all Protestant.
Protestant.
Yeah, and so that was one thing that they hated her about because, yeah, you know, that's centuries old. And but she wasn't really, she was kind of like Catholic in the way that you're just like, yeah, I'm Catholic. You know? you know? So I don't know. Maybe at that moment she decided to become full-fledged Catholic. I could see that happening, but I don't know. In the movie, she was singing, but the story goes that she was praying, so I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I went off.
No,
but fine. It was grisly. You have to admit that was pertinent.
That's not nice, is it?
Moving on.
Anyway, my next one is in London, in big town. The Clink Prison in London. The Clink is the oldest prison in England, dating back to 1144.
Holy cow.
Beat that.
You know I was going to like that one. It can't beat that.
As well as being a tourist attraction, it's also said to be home to a shadowy figure that has been witnessed in the bishop's room. Guests have reported hearing cries coming from the I don't know what that word is. Coming from somewhere. And poltergeist activity is frequently reported here. Others have reportedly witnessed glasses smashing on their own, doors slamming, and a spirit of a woman rattling chains. Now, how do they know it's a woman rattling chains? Do women rattle chains in a different way than men rattle chains? I don't know. It just says the spirit of a woman rattling chains.
It's lighter. They're heavy, so we can only be like, oh, rattle. Rattle. Yeah.
They hadn't even discovered America, had they, in 1144?
No. Well, somebody had.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It was occupied. You know. I'm looking at pictures of the Clink, and it's very small.
Yeah, I'm just looking at that myself. Doesn't seem very big at all.
I would imagine that they used to behead people there. So I would imagine there's probably quite a few people haunting that. And then they turned it into a museum, which, I mean, can you imagine? You're a ghost. You've been murdered here. You've been beheaded. Hopefully done right the first time. And then all these people just come through. You're like, thanks. Oh, no problem. Oh, no, go ahead. Oh, yeah, feel free. Yeah, keep moving. Oh, sure, yeah. So trippy.
See, I've always thought about it like this. If I, when I die, if I'm going to be a ghost, all I want is a bed, a ghost bed, so I can just sleep and get my head down. And can you imagine? You get all that, and then someone opens up your house to it and makes it into a museum. No
Yeah,
wonder ghosts are pissed off.
yeah, it's rude.
You know, we don't respect anything anymore.
I know. The the area around the Alamo was turned into a Ripley's Believe It or Not. Are you kidding me?
Say it was turned into what?
A Ripley's Believe It or Not. Well, there's two Ripleys. A Ripley's Believe It or Not museum and a Ripley's Believe It or Not haunted museum, which is tacky. But yeah, the area around there is like gift shops and Ripley's Believe It or Not, and then there's a San Antonio Riverwalk, which I'm gonna give them this. It is beautiful, but the cheesy part is the stuff that's across the street to get tourist money. It's so disgusting. So many bodies are buried on that land because they they let them lay and then they just buried them. Thousands of Mexican soldiers alone, and yeah, it's so. I don't know what we do this for. Turn everything into money making and oh, it's historical, but then they literally cut down the land and it's just now the Alamo. There's a tiny part, and then the whole area around it is turned into, you know, uh, tr- I just said it. Remember, Rob, when I told you I forget words?
Yeah.
Sightseeing stuff. So I'm seeing a picture from the Clink prison where they had those cages that they would hang outside prisons. They were like body shaped, and they would put a prisoner out there,
Yeah.
and then they would die, and they would keep them out there.
Yeah.
We used to use that same concept when we had scorpions. We would kill one and put it outside. Be like, tell your friends you're not welcome here. I wonder if that's why they did that. This
Do you
could
know
happen to
the
you.
Do you know the Alamo?
Yeah.
Is the Alamo a town or a place?
Oh, it's a place.
So it's an area of land.
It's a building. Yes, it's an
Which
area of land. It's an area of land.
okay.
Okay, so the Alamo is an area of land. And I have a story. Hello. I have a story coming up soon, scheduled for the 31 days of Halloween. And we're going on Haunted Texas, and we're going to go to the Alamo. Um, it was a place, and it was a mission. So it was a religious building. And it was on land, and the war was fought around there. But like, I don't know if you've ever heard of Davy Crockett.
Yeah,
Davy Crockett.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, something of the Wild Frontier. King? I don't know. But anyway, he was in the war. He was there. Um, it was a huge space of land, but they've cut it down to very small. The building of the Alamo, and then a very small, just small area around it. I, because I love history and everything, and I feel like we should be respectful of it. I just can't stand it that you walk across the street and they have a Del Sol which sells shirts that you walk out in the sun and they start glowing. They turn colors. They're like white in the store and you walk out and they turn colors. I just feel you couldn't have. This is built literally on the blood of
Yeah.
soldiers, literally on the blood of soldiers.
Yeah.
And they have ghost tours through that whole area because The whole area's got to be haunted as can possibly
Yeah.
be. And there was like 12 different battle spots in this area. 12 different bloody battles. So it is considered probably the bloodiest place in Texas history. It has to be. So to just doze over that and put a Ripley's Believe It or Not. Do you know what a Ripley's Believe It or Not is?
No, I don't. I have no
Okay, so
idea.
do you know what a what Tussauds is? A wax museum?
Yeah.
Okay, well it's cheeky like that, but it's Ripley's Believe It or Not, and Ripley, there's books and there was a TV show that was Ripley's Believe It or Not, and what it is like he would collect strange antiquities, like
Right.
the body of a baby mermaid. Is it
Oh,
is it
right. Yeah.
is it real? Believe it or not, and things like that. Strange antiquities. People who were born with two heads.
Like a freak show.
Basically, yeah. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
I've said
it's
something I
not.
shouldn't say there.
No. It's sad that, that kind of boils down. But there's also objects. It's not just, well, it's a lot of people. It is like a
Yeah.
freak show. Yeah. Yes, I would say so. They have the world's tallest and shortest man, stuff like that. And it's on the property of the Alamo. People are going to get so tired of me whining about the Alamo.
Well,
But
it's interesting. It's
it's
interesting
just,
for people in the UK because
right.
we don't get, the only time I've heard of the Alamo is from films, like old cowboy films.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Well, it was how we got it. Texas used to be called Tejas. It's part of Mexico.
Yeah.
And now we made it part of the United States. Called it Texas. And the governor's mansion is close by. No, there was no governor. There was a watch my next video. Watch my video about haunted Texas. But it's very, very haunted. The area
Yeah.
is very 12 bloody battles. I mean, the Alamo alone, thou, thousands, thousands and thousands of people were killed in the Alamo and buried out there. And then, now you can go to Ripley's Believe It or Not and watch the tallest man, or see
Right.
a mermaid. It's not really a mermaid. It's a monkey with a fishtail sewed on. I
Yeah.
ruined it for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, why is it me who goes off like this?
Well, I'm asking you questions, aren't I?
Thank you, Rob.
Because you're a very interesting person.
Well, thank you. It's all stone, like it's all like not stone, but like, well, it's stucco, like clay. Like the
Yeah.
buildings were back then.
Yeah.
It's very, like I said, go in, put your finger in a musket hole in the wall. You know that it was meant to kill somebody. Might have killed somebody. Came out the other side. That's profound, I think. I think that's why I feel like so resentful that it's turned into it should be a tourist attraction. It should be a tourist attraction. People should be able to go see history. I just don't like the cheeky part about it, the making money off of it, because you don't pay to go into the Alamo. It's the National, Historical Society thing. So you don't pay to go in there. Taxes do, and I think the Daughters of the Confederate take care of it and run it. But so to have this stuff, that's why I think it's because it was so profound. So many people gave their lives And I think that's why it disturbs me to have everything turned into then a tourist attraction across the street, which belittles the importance and the significance of what happened.
Yeah.
I guess that's it.
Mm.
I think it's hard for children. You take a child and you try and explain the history of what happened here, and then you can go across the street and see a mermaid. Is it real or not?
Yeah.
And I think that in their mind, then it's no different.
Yeah. That
That's
fantasy.
it. Yes, it's no different than is this a mermaid or not.
Yeah.
So there you go, Tracy. Always getting deep. All right, you want to hear my next haunted place?
Yeah, go on then.
Okay, so let's see. My next haunted place is going to be the Ohio Penitentiary. So, the Ohio Penitentiary, which is also known as the Ohio State Penitentiary, was a prison that was operated from 1834 to 1984 in downtown Columbus, Ohio, in what is now known as the Arena District, because they knocked it all down and put an arena up. The state built a small prison in Columbus in 1813, but as the state population grew, the facility couldn't handle the amount of people they were bringing in. So when they first opened their doors in 1834, not all of the buildings had been complete. It had, at the peak, the prison had 5,235 prisoners in it in 1955. Conditions in the prison have been described as primitive. The facility was eventually replaced by the Southern Ohio Correctional Facility, which was a maximum security facility. During its operation, it housed several well-known inmates. It housed General John H. Morgan, who famously escaped prison during the Civil War. It housed Bugs Moran. It housed O. Henry, the author, Chester Himes, and Sam Shepard, whose story is said to have inspired the movie The Fugitive. Sam Shepard. A separate facility for women prisoners was completed within the walls of the Ohio Penitentiary in 1837, which is strange. The buildings were demolished in 1988. In 1897, 315 prison inmates were executed in the electric chair. Starting in 1897, sorry. In 1885, the penitentiary became the site for executions, which had been carried out by the local law enforcement officials up to that time. At first, prisoners were condemned to death, and they were executed by hanging. But by 1897, they brought in the electric chair, which replaced the prison gallows. Both men and women were electrocuted between 1897 and 1963, when the death penalty was stopped in Ohio. Tourists were encouraged to visit the Ohio State Penitentiary. On April 21st, 1930, there was a huge fire in the prison. It killed 322 inmates, hospitalized 230 other ones. It was one of the deadliest fires in North American prison history. The fire started when a candle ignited oily rags on a roof in the prison's 6-story west block. It was first noted after prisoners had been locked in their cells for the evening. So they died, and most of them died in their cells. Reports say that many guards refused to unlock the cells when the smoke entered the cell block, and they left their prisoners in their cells. Some inmates overpowered a guard and took his keys, and they used the keys to try and rescue some other prisoners. However, a riot developed, and firefighters arriving to the blaze were attacked with rocks. They deployed a whole bunch more prison guards. They got on top of the walls for vantage points to be able to shoot. 500 soldiers from Fort Hays came, a local military post. Machine guns were placed at the gates and on the walls. Bayonets were fixed. And the troopers were ordered to shoot to kill. They brought in a troop of National Guardsmen. And after 30 minutes, after 30 minutes after the fire started, the prison was completely surrounded. Prison officials later alleged that 3 prisoners intentionally started the fire as part of an attempt to escape. 2 of the accused inmates committed suicide after the event. Anyway, this incident was the subject of then inmate Chester Himes' story, To What Red Hell, published in Esquire, because they used to call it the Red, help me, what did they call it? The Red Lady? I'm sorry. As well as his 1952 novel, Cast the First Stone, which was republished in 1998 as Yesterday Will Make You Cry. The prison was the site of a Halloween riot on October 31st, 1952, which left 1 inmate dead and 4 injured, as well as a riot of August 1968, which ended with 5 dead inmates, 5 injured inmates, and 7 injured officers. In 1950s, a prominent virologist named Chester Southam injected inmates from the Ohio Penitentiary with HeLa cells in order to observe if people could be made immune to cancer by developing an acquired immune response. They were used as guinea pigs. He compared the results of this experiment to an experiment in which he injected cancer cells into cancer patients and observed that the prison subjects fought off the cancer faster than the subjects who had cancer. Oh, do you think? This case raised many ethical questions, as many believe that it violated the bioethical principles of informed consent. Well, I think maybe. After the closure of the Ohio Penitentiary, the building stood vacant for a decade. It was used as a training site for the Ohio National Guard. It was briefly known as the Damon Pen for Halloween festivities. And it was the setting of the TV movie called Love on the Run, which starred Alec Baldwin. Now, parking garages stand on the site. In the prison, they had aides to gangster John Dillinger, which is really interesting. They both died in an escape from the prison. George Bugs Moran was a mobster. Like I said, they had the Confederate general, and then they had Sam Shepard, who was the inspiration for The Fugitive, which is also very interesting. Anyway, I could imagine that if there was hauntings in this prison, that fire and the way those prisoners died was combined with the executions in the prison. That's a pretty good place to start.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't even demolished until 1998.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
That is really, really crazy.
So there you go. The Ohio Penitentiary. Let's not go. Can't go.
It's gone, isn't it?
It's gone. All right, Rob, what do you want to talk about?
Ashwell Prison in Burley.
Okay.
A former prison in Rutland, which has been a home to many criminals like the penal. Sorry, Trace. Which has been home to many criminals. Like other penal establishments, it has witnessed plenty of negative emotions, violence and deaths. The prison is said to be plagued by strange sounds, shadows are seen moving across the derelict rooms. Footsteps are said to follow unsuspected. Sorry, love. Unsuspecting and dark figures lurch in the corners. Visitors and previous paranormal investigators who had ventured into this forbidding place have reported encountering the spirits of former inmates, as well as U.S. servicemen from the 82nd Airborne Division. There have been numerous reports of dark, shadowy figures throughout the prison buildings and its grounds, and the visitors say that they feel like they're being pushed out of cell doors. It doesn't say why that the US servicemen from the 82nd Airborne Division would have been there.
Yeah, in the prison?
It says former inmates as well as US servicemen from...
I wonder if they housed them there for some reason?
They may have done.
And what's this place called?
Ashwell. Excuse me. Ashwell Prison. ASHWELL. And it's in Burley. BURLEY. It says our former prison.
A former
prison.
Doesn't make sense. Well, maybe then it turned to house the United States military.
Can't be much fun for the Americans being housed in an old prison.
Well, I wouldn't think so. No. I'm going to see if I can find some pictures of this place.
The pictures I've got look quite modern, to be honest.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, it looks very modern. Does it say who it's haunted by?
Dark, shadowy figures.
But like, they don't have suspected it was someone in particular?
No, the prison is said to be plagued by strange sounds. Shadows are seen moving across derelict rooms. Footsteps are said to follow unsuspecting, and dark figures lurking in the corners.
You know, the stone tape theory that you talk about? Yeah. I think maybe these prisons and asylums must kind of support that theory.
Oh yeah. Especially when you're talking about places like Alcatraz and other places like that. It's got to. The amount of negative emotions that have gone.
Yeah.
Over.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And how they do the same routine every single day. They walk the same place. They do the same thing. They walk the same way. The routine is the same every day. That's why a lot of prisoners struggle when they get out, because nobody's telling them what to wear, when to get up, when to go to bed.
Yeah.
So maybe because it's so ingrained in them that, that's... If you died in there, you're just kind of, that's the routine. You're just, the wall, if the stone tape theory is correct, then it's just seeing this play over and over and over and over and over and over again. The same pattern, the same schedule every day for ever. Hundreds of years. All right. I'm going to do a short one, and this one is called the Maxwell Street Police Station in Chicago, Illinois. Shout out to producer Jeremy. That's where he was from. This one I just want to talk about because of how crazy this is. Okay. The police station in Chicago's Maxwell Street neighborhood, which was known as Bloody Maxwell, because of the escalating crime rate in the area. It was constructed in 1889. At that time, the surrounding part of the city was home to thousands of Italian immigrants, including the Jenna brothers, and they partnered with Al Capone's organization during Prohibition to make bootleg liquor right within the area of the prison, of the police station. It became a notorious police station. Something's going on with your microphone, Rob. Okay. It became a notorious police station, which was known for corruption because they were bought by gangsters, duh. Bribery, brutality, and torture. Hey, Rob, something's going on with your speaker.
Pardon?
Something's going on with your speaker.
Yeah, I just have
Your
to take them
microphone.
out for a second when I got something. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm back now.
Okay. Many lawbreakers never left the basement alive. They called it the dungeon. The station was closed in 1997 and became to be used by the security officers for the nearby University of Illinois' Chicago campus. It's currently being used for filming for the television show Chicago PD. Although the cops and criminals of the station's past are long gone, stories say that they still linger here, especially those who were brutalized and killed in the dungeon by not just only the cops, but the mobsters. The mob would, they were in the cops' room with the mob was in the cops. They had protection, and they would take care of people who were their rivals. And so people say that they can hear men screaming from the dungeon. They can hear men yelling. They can hear beatings. They hear moaning and the sound of rattling bars and handcuffs.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's really interesting that, it's the epitome of what we always think of as, how the mobs worked with the police back then. I don't know. Not a good place. Wouldn't want to live in that neighborhood. Anyway, that's a short one. But I would love to go spend the night in there.
Yeah. Well, it's I read that we're talking about the mafia, the mob, or whatever connotation you want to use. That during the Second World War, didn't they get the mafia to guard the docks?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. Get the mafia to get.
I could see that.
They paid them to guard the docks and keep everything, ships and cargo safe. Anyway, I digress.
I have a fascination with all things mafia. And as a side note, my mother-in-law's family was a very well-known mafia family in the Midwest, of all places, which is better known for cornfields than the mafia. But she's pretty proud of it, which is weird. Anyway, there you go. She's also Frank Zappa's cousin, so.
Who's Frank Zappa?
Frank Zappa is a very famous and strange singer. His children are very famous. His daughter's name is Moon Unit Zappa.
Moon Unit?
Yes.
Okay.
Moon Unit Zappa, and his son's name is Dweezil Zappa. And my mother-in-law's last name is Zappa.
Okay.
There you go. Something you didn't know about me. My kids are Zappas and not named Moon Unit.
Moon Unit.
All right, Rob.
Right.
Go on next on this top.
Right. Gloucester. Her Majesty's Prison, Gloucester.
Ooh.
Dun, dun, dun. Right. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Proper prison, this. Her Majesty's Prison in Gloucester, in the west of England, opened in 1791 to house some of the UK's most notorious criminals. In the prison's early days, over 100 executions were carried out. The prisoners' bodies were buried within the prison. To this day, they have not all been found. So, with that gruesome tale in mind, I thought the now abandoned jail was worth a visit. The prison closed 4 years ago. 4 years ago. And is now open to the public. Many visitors claim the prison is haunted by a woman called Jenny. Oh yeah, Jenny, I know Jenny.
You dated her?
Yeah.
She still haunts you too.
Yeah. She was murdered in the 15th century on the land where the prison was later built.
Oh. Well, as long as you guys are happy with the age difference, it doesn't matter to anybody else.
Yeah. Now her spirit roams the land in search of her killer. The ghost has been seen by other prisoners and guards. In 1969, I was one then, in 1969. For anyone who's interested. A group of inmates conducted a seance in cell 25 of A Wing.
Uh-oh. That was where they went wrong.
I think I was. At least that's how we met.
How me and you met, or you and Jenny?
Me and Jenny, yeah.
Oh, okay.
A seance in cell 25 of A Wing, in an attempt to contact the ghost of Jenny. I didn't even know that they were going to say that.
I know Jenny's number. It's 8675 309
666.
It's 8675309. 309. Do you know that song?
No, obviously not.
You don't know Jenny? Jenny, the famous song about Jenny, and you got her number off the bathroom wall.
Definitely don't know that song.
8675309. You don't know? Okay, that was super famous in the 80s. I thought you would know it. Guess you were busy with Jenny.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
I think I might have watched this film last night. In 1969, a group of inmates conducted a seance in cell 25 of A Wing in an attempt to contact the ghost of Jenny, and got more than they bargained for when books and even a flower pot was thrown from the cell by a supernatural force. This wasn't the last inmate saw of Jenny. Just a few days later, a disembodied hand appeared in the convicts cell 25. It pointed directly at him before vanishing as suddenly as it appeared. I think they might have been drinking something they shouldn't, these guys.
Some prison hooch.
Yeah.
Some prison hooch.
And in cell 25, the reputation of being the haunted part of the 200-year-old building. Staff and prisoners have reported hearing knocks, bangs throughout the prison's buildings, as well as slamming doors and shadowy figures, which are mostly sighted in C Wing, a newer part of the prison that was built in the 1970s. There you go. That sounds like a real bag of laughs, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Okay, so what year was that was built?
It was built. The main part of the prison was built in 1791.
1791. Who was queen in 1791?
Excuse me. I don't know.
Okay.
1791. Let me see. I think it might have been Queen Victoria.
Oh, really? Hold on. 1791. Publication. Well, oh, it was King George III. Why was it called Her Majesty's Royal Prison?
What did I say?
Queen Victoria.
HMP. HMP Gloucester. So, His Majesty's Prison. Sorry.
Oh,
I
okay.
apologise. I'm used to saying Her Majesty.
Oh, okay. Just 3 years before that was the French Revolution and the storming of the Bastille. It was going to go bad for England. It was getting ready to go bad.
We're used to it.
I watched a documentary once about the vineyards in France and how every couple of decades they had to like regrow them because they were always the path of every world war. In all wars. They were just always in the path, these vineyards. They were like marched through and ruined, and they'd have to, oh my God, we have to start again. I don't know why that came to my brain. I don't know. Okay, so I have two more.
See what England used to do every now and again. Every few years, we get rid of all our dross to Australia and America. Just send them away.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I do believe, though, some people did leave intentionally, head this direction.
Yeah.
And then you guys came and chased us down.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys were like, no, you have to come back.
We're having too much fun. We'll sort that out.
Sort it out. Come back, it'll be fine. We miss you. Anyway, I'm gonna throw in one lunatic asylum because what it is now creeps me out badly. This is where I would move unintentionally. Like I would just find out later. This is my luck. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
The Danvers State Lunatic Asylum. Wait, lunatic asylum. I just really went real country there, didn't I?
Yeah.
That was crazy. State Lunatic Asylum. The Danvers State Lunatic Asylum in Massachusetts. It is often referred to today as the Witch's Castle on the Hill. The last time I went to go see something that had the name Witches in it, I almost got killed by a train. Not doing it. Danvers State Lunatic Asylum was built in 1878 on a site which was originally in Salem Village. You know it's going to go bad, people. You know it's going to go bad. The first actual location of the Salem witch trials in 1960. No. Wait. This obviously has the date wrong because it says 1962. I don't think we had witch trials in 1962.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure we didn't. I'm pretty sure it must have been like 1762. Anywho, when it started out, Danvers was renowned for its modern treatments and superb patient care. But it wasn't long before the asylum fell victim to the lack of funding, overstaffing, and overpopulation, which caused it to deteriorate to something more akin to a concentration camp. Good times. First you go in there, you're whatever you're in the asylum for, could be a range of things, as we've discussed before. And it's lovely. And then before you know it, you're chained to the wall. It's probably going to happen in my own apartment. Between 1940 and 1950, the facility housed more than 2,000 patients in a building that was designed to house, I wonder, 600 patients. Patients became haggard and ghostly and often left to complete isolation for days on end. They were like, we just can't be bothered. Things were so bad that dead patients would go unnoticed for weeks. She's just sleeping. Her nobody nobody was medicating, or were they just giving her a shot in the arm? She's such a great patient. She's very patient. In 1992, Danvers State Lunatic Asylum was closed down. It was demolished, and renovated into a set of apartments that it is today.
Only in America could he do that.
Only in America. And
Oh, God.
two things. It's the site, the actual location of the Salem witch trials. And we went, oh, fuck that history shit. Let's put an asylum on here, which is obviously going to go bad because some crazy ass people already lived there. Then you put an asylum on, and then you're like, meh. It's so pretty. It is beautiful. It's the witch's castle after all. Knock that down. Let's throw up some apartments. So today, people think that they're in those apartments, that there's bizarre activity. Paranormal sights abound. Residents and visitors have recorded full-on body apparitions. Are they laying in the bed? Because that's what Rob wants. And that's what these people were doing. Flickering lights, the sound of unexplained footsteps, doors opening and closing on their own. This is the place that I would accidentally move into. I'd be like, these apartments are lovely. They're so lovely. And then I would move in, and then somebody who was dressed in all black from Salem, Massachusetts, would be standing in my room calling me a witch. I'm just saying. That would be my luck. That would be the ghost. That ghost. Not the dead one. Been dead for 3 weeks. She's fine. She's losing some weight. He's fine. Just leave him alone. Pull those covers up a little more. His shoulders are looking like bones. All right.
It'd have been a bit crappy if you had to share a bed with him, though, wouldn't it? That would be a bit iffy.
But that's I have, though.
That's a whole different podcast.
Well, I think we've done that podcast before, several times. Oh, I even remember a story you told about a sort of transmitted disease you can get from doing that, so...
Yeah. Not that I've ever done that, by the way.
Well, you scared me off of it, so... I don't think you told it for nothing. I don't know what's wrong with me. All right. Your turn, and then I only have one more, and it's one place I've been.
You spend far too much time hanging about in abandoned prisons and places like that.
Yeah, I know. It's part of my quirkiness. Sweet, kind of.
Okay, we're going to the Steelhouse Lane lockup in Birmingham.
The Steelhouse Lane lockup?
Yeah, in Birmingham.
Okay.
That's how Brummies talk.
What?
But someone from Birmingham is a Brummie.
A Brummie?
Brummie, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And they got a weird accent.
Like what?
Birmingham.
Birmingham.
That's pretty good.
Was it? Finally! I can do the weird accents.
Okay, Birmingham Steelhouse Lane lockup.
Birmingham?
A historical Grade 2 listed police station which operated for 125 years. The prison was built in 1892 and has housed some of the most infamous convicts in British criminal history, including members of the Peaky Blinders gang.
Oh. There's a show on Netflix called The Peaky Blinders. Sorry.
And the mass murder of Fred West.
Mm.
The grim. You know who Fred West is, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
We've discussed him.
Mm. I know a terrible joke about Fred West, but it's very bad taste, I don't think.
I like that you took like 3 seconds and you're like, no. You were running it by your head and you were like,
I still am.
Are you?
Okay. You know that Fred West was a builder, don't you?
Yes.
He was a builder. Well, when they arrested him for obviously killing all them people, they got him in the police station to do his statement. They asked him how many people he'd murdered, and he said 4. And the copper says, "Well, we dug up 6." He said, "Well, I'm a builder. It was just an estimate."
But very good.
Oh dear. It's better with swearing, but I didn't want to swear.
That's good. I never hear you swear.
I know. The grim prison is packed full of small cells on all its floors. The inmates would be confined to their cells as there was no dining area or exercise yard in its fairly small central prison, a city centre prison. It was used to remand prisoners. I've been on remand a few times, which meant criminals stayed there for a while they were waiting trial. Hence the lack of facilities you'd find in long-term penal establishment. In recent years, the grand old building started to struggle to cope with the demands of modern policing, and in 2017 its doors were slammed shut for the final time. Like most prisons, Birmingham Central Lockup has its fair share of ghost stories. Many people have reported seeing dark shadows walking across the empty corridors and objects moving on their own. They've heard the moans of a distraught woman throughout the day and night, as well as the loud slamming of heavy doors, jangling keys, and heavy footsteps. Most of the paranormal activity is said to happen in cell B23.
This was a men and women's prison?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, yeah, it was. You get held on remand. Do you know what remand is?
Well, I guess it would be like so you could go see a judge?
Yeah, you get basically if you're caught doing a crime, you get arrested.
Okay.
And police have got 24 hours to charge you. Or they've got to let you go.
Okay.
So if they're going to charge you, depending on, you can get let out on bail, depending on what you've done and depending on you as a person. Obviously, if you've suspected of murdering someone, you're not going to get let out on bail. They will put you in. They will remand you until you can go to trial, basically.
Well, okay, then I guess that's out. Take that off the bucket list.
Well, it isn't fun.
So you yourself have been in this position, Rob?
I have been a few times.
Or you just heard about it?
Well, no, yeah, I've had a checkered past, haven't I?
Yes, you have.
But I've been in remand in Strangeways in Manchester. No, that's a horrible prison. That's very old as well. I couldn't find anything about Strangeways, and I didn't really want to do anything on Strangeways because I didn't want to bring back any bad memories. But
me crying. It's okay, Rob. Okay.
So I only watch these police. I do like the prison programs and stuff like that on the telly. I like to know what my kids are and that. Boom, 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 boom. You didn't get that, did you?
I like to know where my kids are. Is that what you said?
It wasn't that funny.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. All right.
Go on, it's your turn.
It's my turn. Okay. This is a place I have been to. Not as a prisoner, thankfully.
Are you sure?
But I'm pretty sure. But it came about strangely, as a matter of fact. My best friend moved to Idaho, and she, I was going to be there and as her doula for when her baby was born. And I missed it by about 12 hours. And I flew in. She had a 12-hour-old baby, and on the way home, she stopped by and took me to this prison.
It's not the Idaho State Penitentiary, is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I want to go there. Ghost Adventures have been there.
Oh, have they?
Yeah.
Oh, wait. I see a picture right there. Yes. Well, I, too, have been there. Oh, I'm sorry, Rob. All right, here we go. In the late 19th century, the territory of Idaho was still frontier land. And like most territories at the time, many of its settlements were lawless. In order to obtain statehood in the Union, Idaho needed to have a prison, a place to hold the dregs of society and to reform others. They don't reform them. Anyway, the state penitentiary began in 1870 as a one-cell house and quickly grew into a complex of buildings surrounded by a large sandstone wall. As part of their penance, the prisoners mined nearby rock quarries to build the very walls that would hold them captive. Over the next 100 years, more than 13,000 convicts, including 215 women, would call the Idaho State Penitentiary home. At least 110 of them died within their self-made walls from old age, illness, and murder. In Idaho's history, only 11 state executions took place. 10 of those were carried out in this penitentiary. The penitentiary held up to 600 prisoners at one time. Why is that the number for all asylums and penitentiaries? 600 people. It's strange, don't you think?
Yeah.
Okay. They seem to all be built for 600 people. Then they cram 2,500 people in there. Anyway, the sandstone that formed the walls was plentiful and inexpensive building material, but it also intensified the temperatures inside the walls. So in Boise's hot summers, because I think people picture states like Oregon and Washington to be all lush and green, but large swaths of Oregon and Washington are desert. So not like a low desert, not like Arizona, but still desert. So it gets to be very hot. So they would retain the heat and make it like an oven inside the prison. In the winter, the walls would retain the bitter cold and would chill the prisoners for months because it's winter in Idaho for a very long, long time. Proper plumbing didn't reach the prison until the 20s, which made for an unpleasant condition that also spread disease throughout the prison. This was complicated by the prison's ill-working ventilation system. So conditions like this pushed inmates to the edge, and guards answered violence with more violence until 1971, when prisoners reached their breaking point. In 1971 and again in 1973, there were riots. Prisoners burned the chapel and the dining hall to the ground and damaged many of the other buildings. In 1973, the riot was more severe of the two, and shortly thereafter, prisoners were moved to a more modern penitentiary south of Boise. On December 3rd of that year, the penitentiary was closed down, and then it was placed on the National Register of Historic Places. The buildings themselves were left exactly the way they were at the end of 1973. From the smoke and the fire-blackened stone walls to the calendar still hanging on the cell walls. Walking through the cell block is enough to give anyone a serious case of the creeps. The most notorious inmate confined to the halls of the Idaho State Penitentiary was Raymond Allen Snowden. He was once dubbed Idaho's Jack the Ripper. Snowden was convicted of murder in 1956, and he was sentenced to death by hanging. He murdered a woman whose name was Cora Dean. She was a local woman. She had 2 children. During a scuffle after a night of drinking, he murdered her. He claimed that he backhanded her. She kicked him, and then he, quote-unquote, snapped. Using a 2 1/4-inch pocket knife, he stabbed Cora 35 times. Before his hanging, he confessed to murdering 2 other women in the same manner. At 12:05 a.m. on October 18th, 1957, Ray Snowden was brought to the gallows in the prison, which was Prison's House number 5. Snowden would never get the chance to say his last words because by 12:06, the trap door was pulled on him, but the noose failed to break his neck. I have written a story. I think I wrote it last year. If you guys go look at my creepypasta list, and it was inspired by this story. He struggled at the end of that rope for 15 minutes, hanging by his neck, and then he finally suffocated. Another inmate whose name was Harry Orchard died within the prison walls in 1954. He entered the Idaho State Penitentiary almost 50 years before. He was convicted of murdering the governor, Frank Steunenberg. During his trial, he also confessed to many other murders and dark acts. For several days in June of 1907, he recounted from the stand the many crimes of his life. He did so eerily and politely and precise that it really unhinged everybody who was watching it. He told everybody very calmly of his career as a Union terrorist that resulted in him killing 17 people, including that of the governor. He was cross-examined for 26 hours about his killings, his bigamy, his heavy drinking, his compulsive gambling, and his womanizing, which I think can also go along with his bigamy. His disturbing calm on the stand stunned the courtroom, and many people said they never got over listening to it. Although he was sentenced to death, a judge recommended that instead he serve life in prison. The Board of Pardons agreed, and he served the remaining time of his life, 45 more years in the prison walls. It was the longest sentence ever served in an Idaho State Penitentiary by an inmate. There have been several accounts of unusual happenings in the prison complex, but Five House, the building where Snowden was executed, seems to be the most active. Some speculate that Snowden's spirit never left and has been haunting the grounds since that October morning in 1957. About a year after the prison was placed on the National Register of Historic Places, it opened for tours. Guides and visitors attest to the sinister feelings, strange sounds, voices, and all the dark entities that are still lurking in the cell blocks of Old Idaho State Penitentiary. They had a solitary confinement room that the inmates had called Siberia. And then, of course, they have the gallows, which I have been in all of them. And I had never heard of this prison before when I went. I had no knowledge of the history at all. We walked in, we paid, we weren't given a tour. As a matter of fact, we were there an hour before they closed, so we gave ourselves a tour. We walked around, saw the stuff remaining on the cell walls.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the gallows. We went to Building 5. It's very, very dark. It feels very dark. And I didn't even really know the history. And then as we were walking out, we started reading the history. And we read obviously you know what the gallows are. And you could stand on the top of the gallows to see where the prisoner would stand. And then below is where they would hang, but you go in on the top and see where they would stand until they would release the door. And it felt I feel like you could feel the fear. You could feel the fear in the room. I felt like my friend too said that to her it felt she could feel the fear of standing in that spot. And then to know that that man had hung there for 15 minutes. I don't know. If anybody's spirit would be there, I could imagine that.
Yeah.
And the stone tape theory for that, because, oof, boy, I just can't even imagine. It's one thing if you're an executioner and you do that and you go home and you walk away, but to have the amount of time that lasted, and to have everybody standing around and you're just really just waiting for him to die. That's a feeling that I don't think is going to leave that building. It's very interesting. And it's really weird when you walk up too, because it doesn't it's not big, it's not large at all. It's not even, it's like the only 2-story building there was the gallows. Everything else is like 1 story, and they're like little, you would think that it had been previously like a little tiny, maybe like an Indian village or something. It's very small. The buildings are not very large. They're, like they said, in stone. It's not something that looks powerful or frightening. They have little gardens between the buildings. It looks very pleasant.
Mm.
The day had been a nice day. It was, like 72 degrees out, and I don't know. But by the time we hit the gallows, it was starting to get dark outside, because it was early spring, so it was still wintry and in Idaho, and it was starting to get dark, and it was, I think that did help seal in the gallows. Like, ooh, it's dark, it's freezing cold. Ugh. So there you go. That's my experience. Idaho State Penitentiary.
Yeah, I'd love to go there.
I think you would. I think it is because it's not imposing. I think you'd be struck by just how innocent it looks compared to its history.
Yeah.
It just doesn't look imposing. That's the word I'm looking for. Because like that witches, the one I just talked about, the witch asylum, the witches castle, that looks imposing. It's huge. Alcatraz is imposing. It's this massive stone,
yeah,
and steel. That's imposing and cold. But this place is not. It's almost friendly and warm looking. But you step on that property and it doesn't feel like it.
Mm.
So that's my last story.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I like doing this one.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun.
All right, you guys. If you would please give this video a thumbs up, that would do me a huge favor. Share this video. That is also important. If you would like to be subscribed, please remember to push that button and also click the bell so you can choose how often you'd like to be notified. During October, the 31 days of October, I have content every single day. New and different content. And I've had a lot of fun doing it. Rob's had a lot of fun doing it. And I hope that my subscribers have had a lot of fun listening to the different content.
I'm sure
And
they
Rob, why don't you tell them about our groups?
have. We have Facebook groups. One is called Exit Light, and one is
Shocking.
called what?
Shocking.
Shocking, yeah. Yeah, that took a lot of imagination.
Who did that?
One is called Paranormal and Supernatural World. The main one is Exit Light, and it's got links to the YouTube channel, and you can see all the old videos and all the old content is on there. So try and give that a look if you can.
And Rob posts new stuff all the time. New paranormal stuff all the time. He does a great job. If you like paranormal stuff and new scary movies that are coming out, he's always on top of all of that. You're going to like this page. This group, sorry. So go check it out and join.
Yeah, it's pretty varied, so there's pretty much something for everyone. So
yeah, it really is. He does a great job, and I appreciate him. I pay him lots of love. Well, as much as one can. Long distance. Okay, stop talking about it. It's getting creepy.
Okay.
Me, I mean.
Oh.
Me, just stop, Tracy. Okay, Rob. Thank you for coming.
Not a problem. Not a problem at all.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.